All right, Florida, 3-point favorites against Kentucky. The over-under I have is 4.5 designed runs for 31 yards for DJ Lagway. Very specific. That is splitting the difference between the 4-carry, 34-yard performance that he had on designed runs, which was his first game without Billy Napier, and the total that he had in these 7 previous games with Billy Napier, 5 design runs for 28 yards. That was a very wordy way of saying he had more runs off designed. He had more yards off designed runs in the last game than he had in the previous 7 games with Billy Napier. We know that DJ Lagway hobbled, okay? Working through some stuff. Breaking news. I don't know what he's currently going through, but I do know that he just had his personal best in terms of rushing yards off design runs, and it beat the 32 rushing yards off design runs that he had last year against Kentucky. That was his previous career high in that department. If you're this interim Florida staff with Billy Gonzales, you have an obligation to do right by DJ Lagway, okay? You're still, whether or not you want to acknowledge it or not, you're still trying to recruit that guy probably to stay on your roster. Are you going to be so devastated in the way that you probably thought you would have coming into this season if you don't have him next year? Maybe, maybe not. But you don't have to be cautious with him in the same way that Billy Napier very often felt like he had to be. One of the things that Lagway talked about at Media Days, I'm curious if you remember this, was that his freshman year at Florida was his first time ever going an entire season without a rushing touchdown. He still doesn't have a rushing touchdown in his college career, which is kind of wild when you consider what the scouting report on him was coming in and the size that he had. You're like, just get that guy, on the 2-yard line. That's just an automatic touchdown. I still think that there's a chance that changes in this game and he gets his first career college rushing touchdown. Kentucky's been better against mobile quarterbacks, but still a unit that has struggled with missed tackles, just when it doesn't face a team like Auburn, apparently. And I just wonder if maybe there's a little bit more motivation for Florida. And by the way, me saying motivation is not a dig at Mark Stoops, just kind of came out that way. This game in itself feels like a bowl elimination game. Nobody talks about bowl elimination games anymore, Will. We just talk about playoff elimination games. Bowl elimination games. Bring them back.
Those are much more fun to me at this point, honestly, because that's like, how are you going to spend your whole offseason?
Oh, look, there's something to be said for it. We saw one play out last weekend at Jordan-Hare. Kentucky and Auburn. Kentucky, bowl chances very much alive. Auburn, yeesh, not looking great. And to be clear, if I'm betting, I don't think either of these teams will make it to a bowl game. Florida has a better shot, but I still wouldn't feel confident saying that they're going to end the season not going 3-1, which is what they would have to do to make a bowl game. So I do think this night slate is kind of weak. This game should actually be fun, though. This game should actually be fun. So if you're like, oh man, there's not really a premier game that I really want to watch. If LSU and Bama doesn't end up being like this great game, and if it ends up being a blowout or something like that, flip this one on. I think this game has the potential. It always has the potential to be weird. Dorian's got a touchdown. Some of the moments that have happened, Florida having the touchdowns with the uncovered receivers. What was that back in like 2017? I think that was. Florida's last win in Lexington was actually 2019 when Felipe Franks got hurt. Very gruesome injury. And we got our first real Kyle Trask experience. And it was like, man, why do weird things just happen in this game? And they always, at least to that point, felt like they were going to go against Kentucky. Kentucky's last win against a power conference team at home, we know, we always bring it up, was 2023 against Florida when Ray Davis ran all over them. It's something's got to give game. Cheers to that, Will. Cheers to that. I'll be dialed into this one. Can't wait.
I don't know if there's a rivalry in the SEC that has become more underrated than this one, because if you think about it, man, this was so back and forth. It was 31 straight that Florida had won, and there was I
think it was 31 straight up until 2018.
Yes, just an absurd number. That was it was always Tennessee and at home for Florida and Kentucky that they would find a way to beat these teams no matter how bad they were. They had
Charlie Brown them right in their face
every time. And then over the last couple of years, we've seen again college football has changed. These things haven't been true. And yeah, Florida is a favorite in this game, but it's been Kentucky's series in these last kind of the Mark Stoops versus tail end of Dan Mullen and Billy Napier era here, where it's like kind of the quote unquote, what's up?
Whoa. Don't forget, Dan Mullen, that 2021 Florida team outgained Kentucky that day.
They sure
So
did.
let's not forget about that.
They sure did.
That was decisive.
The papers will never tell you the truth. The final score is it's an amalgamation. Anyway, so that being said, like, I miss this rivalry. I miss the quotes, to your point, that would come out of it. This, what is a rivalry, Connor? Two evenly matched teams with hatred for each other. These are, at this point, two evenly matched teams with hopefully hatred for each other. I love the point that you make about DJ Lagway, and it's interesting. This is essentially what you're saying, but I'll phrase it slightly differently, right? Which is that, okay, DJ Lagway was hurt. So I don't think that it was a mistake to not run him more, okay? But we talked about, and you highlighted the difference in usage with Jaden Baugh as Florida has kind of started to get better at offense. Like, I won't say they figured it out, but I think that it's all come around. We talked about the two freshman receivers, or we talked about using Baugh a little bit more. Well, now we're presented with an interesting case, which was that Billy Napier was saving DJ Lagway from himself to a degree and protecting his future at Florida. That if you have this injury, either you're gonna get hurt and be hurt next year, and it could affect our chances next year if you come back and we're good, or you're gonna get hurt and transfer out of here. So I'm protecting you from yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes, I would agree with that.
So now we're in a position, because if you ask any athlete, as DJ Lagway said at media days, give me 20 carries. Give me 20 carries. I'll take them. Let's do it. Well, now with Billy Gonzalez, he knows pretty reasonably he's not going to get this job. He probably hopes to be on the staff, but both the coach and the player are now looking at each other like, you want to send it?
Yeah.
You want to send it a little bit?
Ryan O'Hara, still weird for me to say. My brother's name is one letter different. I've had several people reach out saying, isn't that weird, Connor? Yes, it is weird. Still weird. There is an understanding, because he is the quarterback's coach. He's worked side by side with Lagway. He's got a pretty good feel for him. And if you're feeling like, hey, he's ready to go, let's let him do some of these things. Let's kind of showcase that we want to use him in all these different ways. You're trying to make a pitch to that guy of, look, stick around here. We could build around you. You still have this skill set that's going to be really fun to watch. Now, is Texas Tech probably going to drop a bag to get DJ Lagway back to the Lone Star State? Yeah, of course they are. Cody Campbell probably already has that check written. All right, who are we kidding? That check is somewhere in the Lagway household. Just when you just think about it, those opportunities probably are going to be there, even if they're not necessarily there in the way that we thought they could be coming into this season. But you're right. You've got to kind of show all these different things and show we're not going to be the coaching staff that's going to hold you back. You're trying to find out if you're going to be part of that next staff. If you're Ryan O'Hara, if you're Billy Gonzalez, Florida lifer in a lot of different ways. So maybe he could be. And yeah, I think it's a really good point. I think it's the biggest thing to watch for in this game.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, I think that Kentucky has been able to win these kind of gross games. And I think the last what do you think the last pretty offensive game for Kentucky was?
In which they won?
Oh, I guess Tennessee was kind of a pretty offensive game.
I was going to say that's different. A pretty offensive game that Tennessee or that Kentucky won. I would say 2023 at Louisville when we had, what was it? I used to always be able to remember this. This is the problem with getting old, is that useless facts. Some stay with me, some slip away. I can't remember how much Kentucky outscored Louisville by when Jack Harlow was trolling Kentucky, and then they just went off. Devin Leary, best moment at Kentucky. And then Mark Stoops a few hours later, apparently going to Texas A&M. Oh, wait, no, he's not. Too many people opposed that. Weird day, wild day. That's a very fitting that a bizarre day was probably the last time that Kentucky had a big time offensive showing, at least against a power conference team, that it felt good about. Because last year beating Ole Miss, that was not a great offensive showing at all in that winning effort.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? It's I agree with that statement, right? But that being said, that was still a game where they were 3 of 9 on third down. They only had 16 first downs. Quarterback was 12 of 22 passing. that under Mark Stoops like under the Mark Stoops standards is the word I'm trying to say. Mark Stoops standards is a great offensive day, but point being, like, say what you will about Billy Napier, but he has had some of these offensive flashes. That's what he was hired to do. So for a game like this to go Kentucky's way, it needs to be an absolute slop fest. The issue with that is Florida's actually gotten pretty comfortable in slop fest too, even though again Billy was not hired to do that. The team has been in so many of them that, to your point, I think this could be a really close, fun game where it's like, again, one big break in coverage, one big play, one big risk that doesn't pay off is here. And I'm fascinated to see, kind of like what I hit on in the Georgia game, these big moments for Florida. They were famously so unprepared for the late game situations, the 2-minute drill, the special teams, the fourth down calls, whatever it would be. I want to see like what the new staff has in store for those moments, because all you have to be is a little bit better than Kentucky, who hasn't been great either. So yeah, I'm actually, like I said, I'm fired up for this game. I'm hoping that not all eyes will be on LSU, so maybe I'm just being selfish, but yeah, I mean, I think this is a great 2-game kind of slate to jump back and forth between, because it's two rivalries that, again, I think this one, like, it's hard to put ourselves back even 5 years ago, but this was a big deal whenever they like broke this streak and
For sure.
back and forth.
Here's a question. Did we just talk about that game more than any other podcast in existence?
I think it's worth it.
And I mean, we'll exclude people that cover the team locally. Obviously, they did. In terms of any national podcast, find you a breakdown as in depth as that was for Florida and Kentucky. Look, we are sickos at heart. Got to talk about them all.